yesterday, President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance, they were in the Oval Office, and they were talking about how Apple Computers has agreed, they've already agreed to invest $500 billion into the United States of America, and they also came out just recently with an agreement that they're going to invest an additional $100 billion, so a total of $600 billion just from this one corporation, Apple Computers, into the United States of America to bring back manufacturing. We in our stupidity, we gave, all of our manufacturing away to the other nations like China, for instance, decades ago. And President Trump is seeking, bring back the investments, bring back the manufacturing, bring back the jobs for us, for Americans. Made in America, made in the USA is what we want. But at the same meeting, he was asked about Epstein, Jeffrey Epstein, and I want to get to his response. So this was, once again, just yesterday.
Is Vice President Vance hosting a gathering this evening to talk about how to respond to the Epstein situation?
Is he working on what?
Is he hosting some kind of gathering of top advisors this evening to talk about how to respond to the Epstein situation?
I don't know. I could ask you that question. I don't know of it, but I think here's the man right here.
I saw it reported today, and it's completely fake news. We're not meeting to talk about the Epstein situation, and I think the reporter who reported it needs to get better sources.
Look, the whole thing is a hoax. It's put out by the Democrats because we've had the most successful 6 months in the history of our country, and that's just a way of trying to divert attention to something that's total bull.
Right there on national TV, when asked this question about the Epstein files specifically, President Trump, we got J.D. Vance talking about this fake news that's being pushed. Like, this is something we're gathering to discuss, and we're going to, gather to discuss the Epstein files. President Trump comes in once again and speaks of the Epstein files as being a hoax and as being, quote, total BS. Total BS. Okay. It is. It is. Because when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, did shiz go down with them? Oh, yeah, absolutely. Was there corruption? Absolutely. Was there human trafficking? Yes, absolutely. Was there, all these pedophiles from these very, very prominent, very big, people in government, positions of government, primarily the Democrats, because that's what Maxwell, according to her testimony, she says very plainly, no, when it comes to the actual individuals that were there at the island, Donald Trump wasn't there. He was never there at the island. But people like Bill Clinton, he was there 28 times. And you got, Hillary Clinton, and you got, all of these other individuals, prominent Democrats were there at the island. However, during the Obama years, and then also during the 4 years of Biden's presidency primarily, all of this information is in their hands. It's in the hands of the Democrats. And under individuals like James Comey, head of the FBI, director of the FBI, the books have been cooked, and information has been, names have been withdrawn, names have been added, things have been changed. And so while the Epstein files was a big hot topic in the campaign, even though President Trump himself, he never ran on it. It was never part of his platform. He mentioned it a few times. You got individuals like Kash Patel who's mentioned it. He talked about it a few times, obviously. But once they get actually into power and they're looking at the files themselves, they see that there's nothing to really go on. Nothing to go on. That things have been, changed and altered and redacted, and just that when it comes to the Epstein files, it is total BS. It's total BS. And it is being used right now as this distraction. It's being used as a distraction away from things that actually do have solid ground, things that we can move on, things that the Department of Justice can actually work with. Things like, Russia hoax, where we have the documents, and the documents are extremely incriminating and proving that individuals like former President Barack Obama was at the head of this, and you also have Bill Clinton, you have Hillary Clinton, you got Joe Biden, you got James Comey, same individual. You got all of these people that are involved in it, and we have the evidence to prove it. That's something solid. That's something to actually go on. But when it comes to the Epstein files, there's nothing to go on. You have President Trump, who has stated that. You have Pam Bondi, who has stated that. You have J.D. Vance, who has stated that. You have Kash Patel himself, who has stated that. Okay? These are all individuals who are saying, look, we've reviewed the information, the actual files, and there's nothing to really go on. And then, of course, you have the situation where it's like, we're going to move to still release. We're still looking to release, those files that are not going to actually bring innocent people to harm, but we're going to just show the world what's in there. This is our commitment to transparency. And then it's a 2014 Obama federal judge, Rosenberg, who puts a stop to it. The only individuals that were actually involved with Jeffrey Epstein at the island with all of the sex trafficking and human trafficking and pedophilia, it was prominent Democrats. But the books, the files themselves were in the hands of the Democrats for far too long, and now, based on those files, there's nothing that they can really use and go on. Now, maybe, when it comes to Maxwell and her testimony, if that actually moves forward and she actually is able to testify in Congress, will that ever be allowed? Will ever that happen? When it comes to the left, God only knows. But if that does happen, well, great. That would be fantastic. I would love to see that. But you just need to know that when it comes to the files themselves, they can't be used. There's just nothing in there. And for the people that are constantly whining and complaining about it, all of the panicking types, it is a hoax. It's being pushed by all the wrong people. And as far as using it to bring justice to those that, were a part of these crimes, it is total BS. It can't be used. And so that's President Trump's position. That's J.D. Vance's position. That's Kash Patel's and Pam Bondi's position and all these others. And I'm going to go, okay, all right. I am more than happy to go with that. But justice must be done. There must be accountability. But it just can't be done through the Epstein files. But when it comes to the Russia hoax files, all of those, okay, now we got a firm foundation. Now we got something rock solid. Let's pursue that. And they are. That's the thing that's so extraordinary, is that Hillary Clinton and former President Bill Clinton, William Clinton, that, and all of these others, including James Comey, they have already been issued subpoenas to appear for depositions. That's real. That's solid. That's actually moving forward in the right direction. And it's not going to be this Epstein stuff, but it is going to be the Russia hoax stuff. So this was just yesterday, and I'm standing with my president. I'm not going to, create issues where there aren't issues. I'm not going to seek to, be like the Panikins who use this and they just divide the right over it. We can't have the right being divided over this kind of stuff. We can't have the right being divided, period. We must remain strong and resilient, or else the left will regain power. And if the left ever were to regain power at any point in the next 20 years, 15 years at least, well then you can just kiss all of those hopes of making America great again. Goodbye.